Tuck in the kids, light some candles, turn off the lights, and let's get into some Christmas Eve ghost stories. Good morning, it's Karen, and we're going to look at some ghost stories today because in the Victorian tradition, Christmas time was actually the spookiest season, and the reason was it was the darkest time of the year. So it was the perfect time to tell those creepy ghost stories that send shivers up and down your spine. I have a few selections here ranging from sort of spooky to actually scary. I hope you enjoy. We're going to start with some Victorian short ghost stories, ones that would be around at this time. The first short story that I'd like to recommend is called Smee. I read this years ago and it has stuck with me. Because it is a short story, I don't want to tell you too much, but it starts with a game of hide and seek and a ghost of a little girl. The second is more of an author that I'd like to recommend, and that is Charlotte Riddell. She was very famous at her time when she was writing. She wrote under a pseudonym, which I will show here. She wrote many short stories, among them being ghost stories. The ones that I would recommend are From the Open Door. I have thoroughly enjoyed going through this book and just picking it up, reading a short story, and putting it down. They are kind of cheesy. I don't find them to be too scary. So they're almost like a cozy ghost story, the kind that won't make it hard to sleep. This next grouping of stories I'm calling more fantastical ghost stories. They have a bit more fantasy elements in them. The first one being the Lockwood & Co. series. I have been really enjoying going through them. They are lovely, they are fun, they are kind of scary in some places. I think there are 5 books. I'm currently on the 3rd one. And if you're looking for some ghost detectives, these are kids who go in and they're trying to expel spirits from places that they shouldn't be, then this is your series to start. This next one is a short one and quite enjoyable, and that's The Haunting of Tramcar 015 or 015. This one was lovely. I really enjoyed this one. This follows, I never remember any names, so I'm sorry about this, but it follows a senior agent and he's got a new partner, and they're going to investigate a tram car that's been possessed by a ghost, and they need to get rid of the ghost. This next series is a series that is completed, so you could binge this. They are chunky, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I just wanted to share with you my beautiful copy. So this follows Evie, Memphis, Theta, and Jericho. There are 4 characters, and all of their stories intertwine. They deal with each other, they meet each other, and then they have their own stories. Libba Bray is great at blending their stories together and making it wonderful. The ghost element, Evie can communicate with spirits, and this one, I think she's communicating with a serial killer. And then the second one I'm most going to recommend is here. That is the one that I think of when I think of ghosts. There is some kind of shift in the veil, and there is a whole bunch of ghosts merging on New York. And it's New York 1920s. And Evie definitely has that speaking voice, the oh shucks, and what's the bee's knees. I've listened to the audiobook as well as read the book, and I find she can be a bit grating in the audiobook, but it does add that more kind of authentic feeling of her. I don't find these as scary, but they do have a slight creepiness to them. This next set that I have to recommend, I call Ghosts, maybe? These might be metaphorical ghosts, these might be actual ghosts, but this is the sort of we're not sure category. And the first one is one that I recently reviewed, and that is ghost music. This one follows a woman who's recently moved in with her mother-in-law, and she's got some troubles with her husband going on, and she's really into music. She teaches piano, and one day she meets question mark a pianist who's been missing for years, and he basically kind of slowly teaches her what it's like to find joy in living and makes her question how to live and find joy. The 13th Tale. This was recommended to me as a gothic novel, which I would absolutely say it is. It's got all of the trappings, all of the tropes, and all of the wonderful mysteries and spookinesses. This is a story, it's got one of the best setups too. It's an older author who's on the verge of possibly her end of days, and she calls in a young biographer to write her life story. And it's this wild life story, and we get to follow it. And let me just read this to you because this list of things should sell you on it. Right. Feral twins, a ghost, a governess, and a devastating fire. I loved this one. This one read so smoothly. I read it on a camping trip and just adored it. Absolutely adored it. Leading from this one, the reason why I picked up the 13th Tale was the very classic Rebecca. You probably have heard about this one. I didn't actually really understand what it was until I read it. The main character is not Rebecca, which I would have thought it was. But it's not. It follows this woman who meets this rich man, and he goes, I'll marry you and take you back to my very famous place called Manderley. Okay, oh my god. This is mom brain. This is what happens when you're not sleeping through the night with a baby. So he takes her to Manderley, and things are just a little bit suspicious because people keep mentioning the man's ex-wife. Well, she's dead. She died mysteriously, and her name was Rebecca. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. The author did an interview in which she said it was a study in jealousy. Absolutely agree. This was amazing and would be amazing to read at this time of year. Are you ready for some spooky ones? This first one is probably, I would say, the scariest book I've ever read, but I don't read a lot of scary books, so that's not really saying much. However, The Silent Companions. This is creepy. So it follows this woman who's recently been widowed, but she still goes back to the home where he was going to take her, and she meets his household, and there are these things called silent companions. These were very famous in Dutch art, I think, and they were basically cutouts and paintings of people that would occupy a space. Now, I read up on why they actually had them. Sometimes they say it's maybe for some loneliness. Sometimes it was for a prank, to prank people. And other people say it was to keep out burglars, so people would look in the windows and, oh, there's a person, so I'm not going to break in. They are kind of creepy. If you look up the pictures, they look pretty innocuous. But in this story, she comes across these silent companions, and the eyes seem to follow her, or one of them looks exactly like her, or they move on their own and they just appear in places, and it's just really unsettling. So if you're looking for a really creepy, really kind of spooky book, this one's for you. This next one I was sold as another gothic story in the same vein as the 13th Tale. This is The Little Stranger. This is about a doctor who ends up working for a family who's very, very private, but also very rich. And he gets involved probably unethically. And he begins to unravel their story and gets into why they are so private. And then he encounters some spooky things. And this was great. I would definitely recommend this one for this holiday season. This next one doesn't really have a category. I couldn't figure out how to categorize it. But because it's on the more historical side of things, it's not meant to be scary. It's a bit more tragic, but it's definitely got a ghost. Peony in Love. This is set in 17th century China, following this girl who's absolutely obsessed with these operas about a man and a woman and falling in love and those intertwining fates. And it does say this on the back. She dies right before she's about to get married. And it is kind of an exploration of the history of China, this particular time period, as well as the death culture, what people believed in, and how they recognized their dead, how they honored their dead. And this was just a lovely story. It is tragic, it is a little bit sad. So if this holiday season you're feeling a bit blue and you're okay to have a little bit of a cry, this is one for you. So you've got your ghost and you've got your cry. Last category, I didn't really know what to call this, but I'm calling this thrillers in the real world. These are mystery thrillers. They read quite quickly and they are just so fun. First one I'm going to start with is Homebody by Orson Scott Card. It's about a man who moves to a place. He's bought this house that really needs to be fixed, and he starts fixing it up, and then strange things happen, and he meets a lovely woman. It's just wonderful. He uncovers sort of the history of the place as he's going, and everything just flows so nicely. The writing, it's just super immersive, and I absolutely loved this one. This was just a lovely little ghost story. This next one I think is sort of the it book right now, and that is The Burning Girls. This is a story about a vicar, which, side note, I am loving any books that has some sort of a vicar in it, and the vicar is like investigating mysteries. It's just like such a fun, weird angle, niche thing. Anyway, so Burning Girls. This vicar comes back to town. She's a woman vicar, which causes a bit of a uproar in this cozy small town that is rural and has traditional thoughts. She is replacing the vicar who passed away suddenly, and so she's not exactly welcomed. And then she starts learning about the mythos of this place where, if I remember correctly, you see a burning girl if something bad is going to happen to you. There is also a mystery of some teenage girls who went missing, and the vicar investigates, and it's fun. This is just a fun one. This reads so quickly. You could get this done in a night. Christmas Eve, perhaps? This last one is a really tough one. It is a thriller, it is horror, and that is White Tears. This is probably the most literary of the books on this list. This follows two young men, one of which is very rich, and the other one is sort of shy and awkward, and he's sort of the more talented one, and then the rich guy is like his patron. And he wanders around, sorry, the awkward guy wanders around recording things. And one day he records this blues singer singing in the park, and they go and they think it's the best thing ever, and they make it into a record, and it turns out it's this missing record from, I think it was Charlie Shaw. He's this legendary blues singer, and people think this recording is fake because this blues singer existed like 70 years ago in the 30s or something. I think the recording becomes haunted. I just remember it going really wild by the end of the book. There's a lot of commentary on taking other people's art and using it as your own. There's also a lot of commentary on the privilege of being rich. This was a terrifying one to kind of read and just immerse yourself into. So if you want a more literary book that is also siding on the side of horror and has a haunted recording, you're going to love this one. From that list, I hope you're able to find something that caters to your taste. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Karen. I'm the book Libronaut. I love exploring all different types of books. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.